When I stopped fighting who I was, and this is the absolute God's honest truth, when I stopped fighting who I was, something shifted. And by the way, this is one of those moments where I want to make sure that you really understand what I mean. Because when I say something shifted, it doesn't mean that everything got easier. Everything didn't get easier. There were still difficult conversations to have. There were still hard things that needed to be acknowledged. There were still uncomfortable feelings to sit in and to process and to ultimately integrate into who I am. It doesn't mean that everything got easier. Everything felt mine. I didn't need to prove my worth anymore. I just embody it. In my voice, in my choices, in how I greet the mirror each morning. So I offer this to you today. What would happen if you stopped fighting who you are? It feels like we live in a world that tells us that there's something wrong with us if we don't fit into these predetermined boxes. A world that applauds certain kinds of bodies or voices or mannerisms or opinions. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's overt. But I think that at some point in our lives, almost all of us have been told that there's something wrong with us. Too much, we're too little, we're too loud, we're too quiet, we're too opinionated, we're too agreeable. You get the picture. And so many of us spend years trying to fix ourselves, to curate ourselves, to mold ourselves into something that's more acceptable, more marketable, more loved. When I stopped fighting who I was, I stopped trying to convince myself that I wasn't enough, that I needed to be smaller, or quieter, or more agreeable, or less opinionated, or less emotional. When I stopped fighting who I was, I woke up one day and I realized that the person in the mirror had a story to tell the world, and that person was me. I finally started listening to her, honoring her, believing her, and when I did, I stopped fighting who I was, and something shifted. I want you to feel that too. I want you to wake up and realize that you have a story to tell the world and that you are worthy of being heard. Because here's the thing, none of us knows exactly why we're here on this earth. None of us knows exactly why we were born into this particular family or community or culture or time in history. But what we do know is that we are here right now. And if you're watching this, then you're here right now and you're alive, and that's incredible. It's a gift. So what if you stopped fighting who you are? What if you stopped trying to convince yourself that there's something wrong with you? What if you leaned into what makes you you? How might that change your life? How might that change the world? We often hear about toxic positivity, but what if we flipped that on its head and talked about radical acceptance? What if we accepted ourselves as we are, not because we think that we're perfect, but because we believe that we are worthy of love and belonging just as we are, flaws and all? What if we accepted ourselves as we are? What if we offered ourselves the same compassion that we so freely offer to others? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I still struggle with this. I still struggle with remembering who I am. I still struggle with believing that my story matters. But when I remember, when I lean into it, when I choose myself, something shifts. It's like a stone dropped into a pond, sending ripples out into the world. When I choose me, I affect the people around me in positive ways. I become a better friend, a better partner, a better colleague, a better neighbor. I bring my full authentic self to every interaction, and that changes the world for the better. Here's the thing, we can't give what we don't have. If we don't have self-love, if we don't have self-acceptance, if we don't have self-compassion, we can't give that to anyone else. But when we stop fighting who we are, when we accept ourselves as we are, then we can give the world the best version of ourselves. I challenge you today to stop fighting who you are. Stop trying to be someone else's idea of you. Lean into you. What makes you nervous about doing that? What are you afraid will happen? I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Let me know what comes up for you when you think about stopping the fight and leaning into you. You know, one of the things that helped me stop fighting who I was finding other people who had done the same thing. Other people who had realized that when they stopped fighting who they were, something shifted. And that's why I love creating content, because I hope that I'm affecting the world in even the smallest of ways. I hope that I'm helping other people realize that when they stop fighting who they are, something shifts. I've been thinking a lot lately about embodiment and how our body is literally the vessel through which we experience this life. And if we don't honor our body, if we don't listen to what it needs, if we don't care for it, then we're not fully experiencing this life. We're not fully living. And that's why I'm so grateful for the sponsor of today's episode, AG1. I've been taking a G1 for over a year now, and it's hands down the best investment I've made in my health. Every morning I wake up and I drink. AG1 because it's the easiest way to make sure that I'm getting everything that my body needs to thrive. AG1 is a daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's 75 trillion cells. Each serving has 75 high-quality vitamins and probiotics sourced from whole food ingredients. Taking a G1 every morning helps me start the day feeling energized and ready to take on whatever challenges come my way. And I know that I'm giving my body the nutrients it needs to stay healthy and thrive. If you want to learn more or order your own AG1, visit drinkag1.com/author or scan the QR code on the screen using your phone. You'll get $50 off your first order, plus free shipping and a 1-year membership to the Inner Circle. That's drinkag1.com/author or scan the QR code on the screen using your phone. Embodiment is also key to connecting with our true selves. When we pay attention to our body, when we listen to what it needs, when we care for it, then we're able to connect with our true selves in a deeper way. And that's where something magical happens. That's where we tap into that inner knowing that we all have access to. When we tune out the noise of the world and tune into our own inner wisdom, then we know what to do, where to go, who to be with. When I stopped fighting who I was, when I stopped trying to convince myself that I wasn't enough, when I stopped trying to be someone else's idea of me, then I woke up one day and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I knew exactly what kind of content I wanted to create. I knew exactly who I wanted to be. So I offer this to you today. What if you stopped fighting who you are? What if you stopped trying to be someone else's idea of you? What if you leaned into you? How might that change your life? How might that change the world? When I stopped fighting who I was, I stopped trying to be someone else's idea of me. And when I leaned into me, when I leaned into who I was, when I leaned into my truth, something shifted. By the way, this is one of those moments where I want to make sure that you really understand what I mean. Because when I say something shifted, it doesn't mean that everything got easier. Everything didn't get easier. There were still difficult conversations to have. There were still hard things that needed to be acknowledged. There were still uncomfortable feelings to sit in and to process and to ultimately integrate into who I am. It doesn't mean that everything got easier, but everything felt mine. Everything felt mine. I didn't need to prove my worth anymore. I just embody it, my voice and my choices, and how I greet the mirror each morning. When I stopped fighting who I was, I woke up one day and I realized that the person in the mirror had a story to tell the world. And that person was me. I finally started listening to her, honoring her, believing her. And when I did, I stopped fighting who I was, and something shifted. So I offer this to you today. What would happen if you stopped fighting who you are? Not fixed, not curated, just remembered. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. I value you. And I hope that you know just how much you matter. I hope that you feel the truth of this message deep in your bones. If you do, I invite you to leave a comment below. Let me know what resonates with you most about what we talked about today, or drop A to begin the unfolding. I can't wait to read your comments. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, take care.